Hi, welcome back to the Mom Mentality Show. My name is Austin Chadwick and co-host is Chris Lucian. And today we're going to be talking about the topic of story splitting. In particular, imagine yourself in the situation where everything just feels gigantic. Everything looks like a big bang, behemoth request. What do I do in this situation, Chris, to get to small slices? Pull me out of the soup here. How do I survive?
Yeah, it's funny because I don't know, for some people I think that this is comes a little bit more naturally, and for others it's a huge roadblock. And I've struggled over the years to kind of understand why that might be. And so I think over the years articulating different ways of splitting things down has been really important. But often I do hear it's like, oh, that thing has to be all released together, or sometimes it's just a difficult conversation with a product owner at the same time. And so
Hmm.
I think it's different approaches. And I'm sure that you've run into both where it's like either just feels like this technical thing needs to be put together, or the product owner or whoever is making the financial decisions about investment and release frequency um, doesn't want to, wants to make a big splash, a big marketing splash or something, on along those lines. Um, and so maybe we can dive into each, but I guess some initial strategies that I've used in the past, going from like least extreme to most extreme. So um, you know, a lot of it has just been conceptually like, okay, well, how do we split this down to the smallest possible slice? Or giving in a little bit on the release frequency or on the, yeah, releasing to customers bit, but still releasing frequently with feature flags and things like that. But I think there are other strategies. And so, like looking online, there has been the SPIDR, SPIDR, spikes, paths, interfaces, data and rules, story splitting, where you can kind of split things across multiple spectrums, and then going all the way to I think color coding verticals in a diagram. So I think one of the most successful practices for me has been, while working with a team, taking something that recently was considered too big to and was released all at the same time, right? And so everybody kind of agrees, like, hey, we could have done that a little bit differently and released it differently. And but essentially drawing out that diagram collaboratively and then color coding things to reflect dependency. And that has been really helpful in illustrating how things could be sliced up differently. And I think one of the most successful ones was where we conceptually did different slices each time. So we took the same diagram and recolor coded it. So it's like, purple could be released first, and then blue could be released afterwards, and then green could be released after that. And just made an exercise of re-slicing and dicing that particular feature. So I don't know if any of this strikes a chord with you, but
Oh, 100%.
some
Yeah.
ramblings.
No, it's good ramblings. And I think, there's a lot of great techniques out there. Like discovery trees are kind of one of the latest buzz with these. And then like classic story splitting, going back to the dawn of the Agile Manifesto. You can kind of trace the roots of those books and those people and things. And those are all fantastic things. And, I've done a handful of different diagramming techniques as well. Some on draw.io, some using more like homegrown discovery tree tools like Oak. And sometimes it's just like, classic whiteboard with ugly drawings by hand. But I think the heart of a lot of it is, I think communication wise, yes, and then keep keep breaking down until you get to your kind of coded diagram. I loved your coded diagram example, right? So you can see the path to where I am now to where they say they want to be, like these 20 features, right? But through small slices, right? And I think the heart of it and for me is I keep going with the story splitting and resist coding until I know we're not painting ourselves in a corner and I can see the steps. So A goes to B, B goes to C, C goes to D, all the way to Z, right? Um, and 99% of my experiences, marketing or the customer wants Z, right? They're like, I came to you and requested Z. Now you're talking about A, then B, then C, and all these like prior steps. It's kind of weird or whatever, but whatever. They usually stop at D. They usually don't go all the way to Z.
Right.
And so they usually come to see the value of it afterwards. But instead, I think in the past I've been more combative. So that's kind of the yes and communication tactic is like, whoa, 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 hold on, customer. You're asking for too much, like kind of coming in kind of negative kind of thing. Like, we're going to do it the agile way. And like, you're not doing it the agile way. And like, um, you know, even if I wasn't that in your face about it, it kind of had that like, we're on the wrong foot kind of feel where I'm okay now if they're dreaming big. Like, they're like, I want the world. I want these thousand things. You know what I mean? You're just like, fantastic. I love it. Okay, so we can have progress and feedback on each step. We're going to come up with how we're going to get there through small steps, right? And they're usually kind of like, okay, I'm good with that. It's better than seeing nothing for 5 years or 5 months or 5 weeks or, or whatever, right? Um, you're saying I get to see something tomorrow, like how far you're getting, like, yeah, of course. Yeah. Tomorrow there's a button. It does nothing. The day after that, the button talks to the hardware, the thing, right? And it doesn't do much, but we're getting progress, right? Um, and so I've seen that conversation go a lot smoother because you don't even really need to teach them agile or anything, so to speak. You're just basically saying, great, here's the next step to doing that. And then they'll learn it in practice and seeing them experience it. Um, but that's one thing that jumps out to me. Have you ever seen those conversations go wonky or go well?
Well,
You know?
yeah, I mean, I think you're reminding me of I think two different scenarios, right? So there's the story splitting before, like A, B, C, D, but also I think I've had a lot of success in story splitting after, in the sense that like they did take the long time. They did release, something giant and everybody's like, I kind of like felt like we could have done that a little bit differently or
Yeah,
cut it up
right.
differently. And so even story slicing as a retrospective, I think is not something people jump to.
Hmm.
Um, and so, it's like now that you know the whole solution and you've seen everything run through to its logical end, you've done A through Z, like could you have cut it up to be A, B, C, or could it have been A through D and then D through, G and then so on and so forth?
Hmm.
Um, and I found tremendous value in that, especially when just talking to teams that kind of felt weird about how much was released so far. So
Hmm.
um, that had been a really good thing as well. And then I think another one that I've seen recently is time crunch, or, story slicing to time crunch. So it's like, oh, hey, we got to move on to this other priority, and we've accumulated a bunch of excess inventory around this feature. Is there a slice at which we could just release everything that we have so that we can pivot? And I've seen that be super useful in conversation, especially with a product owner that wants to release a lot at the same time. And um, so using that as like a, hey, we could, short circuit this thing and provide a feature. Maybe it's not everything you wanted, but we can release this thing and it can go out to customers. And with that focus of getting that excess inventory out to customers. So um, yeah, so that is a big part of it for me. Um, but in the past, I think it's very easy to just get stuck in like let's keep adding to this and I think a hard one is the big bang marketing release thing or making a big splash, right? Because I think in marketing they are at odds, right? It's like, hey, we got this like really big new thing, and here it is, versus incrementally releasing, things. And I think the two disciplines are taught to do things in such different ways. that it can be tremendously difficult to do that. And I've also seen or heard of at companies, because I think both like Etsy and Netflix are known to do this, where you have like an innovative customer lane and like a non-innovative customer lane, where the non-innovative the customers that are not that dislike change are put into a different bucket, and they actually receive releases less frequently than others. And so that's also an interesting concept. I don't.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And the I think I've seen you coach teams I'm on in as well, and including the business side is selling what you have versus selling the future.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you can still do the big bang marketing release and splash if you feel it's necessary. It's just that you're with the team as they're building up piece by piece of the splash. And then once you're ready to turn it all on at once, do it. But it's already there
Right.
instead of in 3 months we're gonna have this big thing. Customers get ready. You know what I mean? Like, because then you're creating the pressure cookie situation for to develop a big ball of mud that will be hard to enhance later, or will be have lots of bugs in that kind of scenario because you're guaranteeing something you don't even understand
Right.
in many cases. And so, yeah, so I think a key thing there is helping them learn to only sell what you already have. So you can teach them that explicitly, or you can do it step by step in practice by just saying, like, okay, we did A. Do you want to ship it? No. Okay, we'll leave the feature flag off. Okay, we did B. Do you want to ship it? No. Okay, we'll leave that feature flag off. And then it's like, I'm currently in that scenario right now. And to be honest, I'm with them because to give an analogy of the feature we're working on, it's kind of like start a train and you can't stop it. It's kind of like that's
Yeah.
dangerous. That no customer wants to start a train and not be able to stop it, right? Um, so yeah, I'm with you. You know, all marketing aside, whether this is a big splashy thing or not, we need to be able to stop it before we can release the start.
Right.
And so, you know, some things naturally go together. The irreducible complexity problem. There's sometimes that on the technical front, like story splitting from the feature, and there's also story splitting from the technical infrastructure because uh, I've seen it before teams where it's, in my opinion, haven't done a sufficient level of story splitting technically and non-technically, is they have a big vision of where they're going and they're just kind of wandering around the tech stack. Like, you know, they might be doing TDD, they might be doing good low-level practices, but it's kind of aimless, right? And it's like, well, how does this map to the MVP or how does this map to slice B or slice D? And there's not really a clear understanding. And there's a time and a place for a spike. We don't know what we don't know. But what I love is to keep splitting on the technical front until we can be like, okay, we now know enough about the messaging infrastructure and the cloud infrastructure and the hardware that these three things can connect and talk to each other such that we can present what the user needs to know to start and stop, right?
Right.
And what that means is we're saying no to all these unknowns and things in those tech stacks. That is not priority right now to learn about, well, what does the messaging queue do in this scenario? We don't care. We need to, you know, to hit slice A, we only need to learn just this bit. And I think, you know, it's good to optimize for learning and it's good to do those kinds of things. And a quick tangent here and there is fine. But I've seen without disciplined story splitting, mobs just kind of wandering or teams just kind of wandering and just like following their nose with learning or not knowing the path to get to the MVP. And you know, post mortem retro, you can see that, oh, we could have hit a more direct path, right? You know, so
Yeah. And so I totally agree with that because, you know, that post-mortem, like it is a good opportunity to review those things. And, you know, and sometimes it's good to say like, well, could we have developed, you know, stop the train first before start the train and released stop the train and then released start the train. Like
yeah.
that is a good reflection to get into. Um, and sometimes, you know, I think over the years I've seen product owners also gradually move into that and understand like at first I had to ask like, hey, let's not sell what we don't have, right? But gradually over time, then it became, let's get good at communicating the feature that we just released, and selling what we do have. And so I think that naturally begins to emerge, especially in a scenario where you develop a good way of notifying all the users that like, hey, you have this like new incremental, granted incremental uh, ability, but you now, it's there and you can see that as a part of a cadence of things that we've released over time in the past, right?
Love it. Love it. Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, it's not all rainbows and roses. This process of, if you're coming into huge unknowns with business customers expecting a big splash, there does get conflict and there are, I think sometimes due to lack of experience or just experience in different disciplines, they see in the Cynefin framework that what you're doing is in the simple or maybe kind of complicated realm where they're like, hey, I ordered a burger. How come it's not ready in 10 minutes? Right. Like, and so there is some cognitive discomfort with coming to realize that that's not how software is. It's got way too many
Yeah,
unknowns for that, at least in our space, Chris. And uh, we everything we're doing is custom, never before done before. A
right,
combination of some knowns and some unknowns, and we're coming up with something new. And so, um, helping them realize the best ways to interact in that world, is sometimes painful, and sometimes they don't like it.
right,
But I think if they've experienced the Big Bang release that goes terribly, I think you've shared stories before of they released 100 things and only 20 of them got used, right? If
right,
they've had that experience before, or the classic one that I think every company has numerous examples of is the thing that never finished.
right,
Yeah, this team's been working on it for 3 years. It's supposed to be done 2 years ago. It's supposed to be done 5 years ago. It's supposed to be done 7 years ago, and then they just kill the project, right? Or
right,
um, to compare that with, hey, you're not giving everything you want tomorrow, but you have something that's usable, and we can add to it tomorrow. Like, and don't sell it until you're ready to sell it. They don't like that because it's not the restaurant experience, but it's certainly better than the alternatives.
right.
So coaching them through that is, it's a challenge, but I think from my experience, they generally come to appreciate it as a better alternative.
Right. And I think you reminded me of something there. The known unknowns and the unknown unknowns of a particular task. And so when you're doing prioritization, I think we talked about this in a different episode about prioritization, is this idea that you want to kind of work on the biggest unknown, biggest value first,
Mhm.
where I think that a lot of software teams will work on kind of the easier things at first and then slowly build up to the harder things. And that also puts you in a very dangerous scenario. So story slicing so that you can release frequently and you can release things um, that you'll be relatively confident about. But also it's like if it's the top priority now and you can't release anything else except for this thing and it has some known unknowns, or you run into an unknown unknown, um, you attack that first because then you're removing the risk from the delivery of the product versus maybe leaving that toward the end and working maybe on more on UI and other things first, and then realizing, oh, actually what we wanted to do was impossible. And so that's another thing that I've seen come up. And I think that prioritization scheme certainly comes into play, especially when a product owner won't release something and you have to choose from a list of tasks to do. Going with the highest unknown, highest risk item is often the less intuitive but better option.
Right. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I think going back to some of those diagrams we've drawn before that you were referring to and that I'm referring to, that's a great question to ask to help the prioritization. Like, okay, we're thinking A to B to C to D, but wait, um, B, or let's say like F is the most valuable thing on the path to Z. And F also has three unknowns, right? So maybe we don't work on A at all at this moment, and we find out we got to go do, E first, and that will give us those discoveries, and then we can come back to A later. Or also asking the questions of cost of delay and value. So even if you have this nice map of A through Z, and I'm exaggerating. We usually don't look that far into the future. It's usually like A to D or something. And then we're just like, well, if you can get to D by the law of I forget what it is in discrete math, we can get to Z, Z eventually. Um, but the asking, re-looking at the diagram through the lens of known unknowns and unknown unknowns, and also asking through cost of delay and value dramatically changes the conversation because sometimes you realize that they don't care at all about A through M, and O would bring incredible value now, so we can skip half of that path, right?
Right.
And so, um, yeah, and I think it's just a very Socratic discovery process, and sometimes you don't know it until you're partway through the thin slices. But just to keep reharping those questions as you go, as you get feedback from the market and the customers and stakeholders. Yeah. Anything else on this, Chris, before we shut this one down?
Yeah, just like anything else, it's something that can be practiced, and uh, and so even just as a mental exercise, how would I break this down? How would I
Hmm.
release this incrementally? What would I do to the database?
Sure.
So that I don't have to, those sorts of things. And so I think it's just it's something where if you feel like it doesn't come naturally to you, then I would just highly recommend to anyone out there that they practice it and take a look. Look at the spider story splitting, or just come up with examples, or do the diagramming and color coding, and reslice the same thing over and over again. Just practice it until it starts coming more naturally.
Awesome. Yeah. And the other thing I'll throw in there as I shut it down is this is like many things, something that might be more easily caught than taught. So if you find yourself where everything feels big and you feel lost, bring in someone who seems experienced in it and have them guide you through it and mob the story splitting together. And that can be incredibly valuable experience. But yeah, please share this episode with anybody else who wants to join the conversation on story splitting when everything feels big. And yeah, please like and subscribe. Please share with others. Yeah, please share with us your techniques, your ways, things that have gone well, things that have not gone well, and everything we covered here today. And until next time, mob on, story split on. Have a good one. Talk to you later. See ya.
Thanks, everyone.